Gundam.tk presents Master Grade Marasai. Hey, what's up again, everybody? It's Robert, 184-2Rs2B's GundamReviews.net, and filling in for the Zeta Gundam back there is the Age 2 in its non-transform mode, and Camille's Mark II, which faced off up against Jared's Marasai quite a few times, and now, as you may be able to see from all these empty plates, with it all put together, let's take a look at the individual parts and see how it's going to look before the sum gets done. Taking a look at everything before it's put together, you can see that the limbs are going to be pretty much as expected there, with some cool additions to the shoulder and the backpack, and you'll notice that the head has a little add-on there that's been removed from the chest for the light. The beam saber handles are already in the shield there to go along with their yellow blades, and you can see the beam rifle there with a couple colors. 4 sets there, a 4-finger that you can swap out, and yes, master grade quality hands. Action-based connector, a small pilot that's pretty generic, and the connection for that rollover dash pose. And there's a couple extra connector pieces if you want to take this and attach it onto the Balut system, which is sold separately and previously a part of the Hyakushiki. And the light that you see here is not included, which keeps the price down, but it is available separately at retail or through ordering if you're in Japan. And with me being a lazy modeler, remember all I do is cut this stuff off, and to get rid of the discoloration, these 2 Real Touch markers sure came in handy. And for the lining, I decided on the red or the pink here, or the orange salmon, whatever you want to call it, to go with brown, which is frequently recommended by Gunpla magazines, over black or gray. Throughout with this kit, every once in a while, it's that dichotomy between seemingly simple on the outside and a great inner frame on the inside. So for example, the foot is only going to move here in one place, but on the inside it's got a nice looking frame and it looks like everything is going to stay in there, and good color articulation here. Once it's attached onto the leg, you'll notice these large parts even more, and if you take a look at the hips here, they're going to start out pretty interestingly, where you've got this part here, and you'll notice that it's not the whole thing moving up, just that small part. Nothing here is going to bend in, or nothing here is going to split in terms of the thigh, but if you bend this down and bend it down again, you'll notice that it's a little bit stiff there, but if you saw, the knee is going to move ever so slightly, and it's going to show off a moving piston on the inside, and some green parts back here, but these ones are not differentiated. This is just one long green piece on either side, with some black lining on there. Every once in a while, these big armor parts on the legs are going to split, so you're going to have to be careful or just throw some glue in there. And it's cool that the inside and the outsides here are differentiated with some cool looking, well, a little thruster over here. You've got this part which is going to go up and down, and on the other side you're going to have 2 thrusters. These don't move, but these little panels can move around for maneuverability, I suppose. Somebody asked in one of the earlier parts if this is my first mono-eye master grade bad guy, and yes, it certainly is. And I think even more noticeable than the mono-eye part is just all of this piping, which goes all the way back to the Zaku 2s. So anyway, when you're putting this together, you're going to have some nice inner frame on the inside, and it looks like these large ones are going to be showing through. We've seen some fancy hip mounts for newer ones, but outside of the fact that it's placed rather forward, there's nothing spectacular about this. No pockets, nothing's going to open up here. Very few lining opportunities here, just a few little tick marks that you can put on. So the thing that's really going to stand out is the fact that these green parts are individual beads that you're going to have to feed on in the right order. I think it's like 3-4-3 kind of thing when you put them on. And if you want to shave them down, a Real Touch marker will help you clean them up, and just don't lose too many along the way. Here's the chest section, if you can make with the pilot there on the inside, because there's a little bit of light streaming in through the top there, which you'll see has a very important reason when you put on the head. It's just going to have a ball joint there to attach that on, flip this down, and push it back in. Again, very minimalist lining. I've just got some down the middle there, nothing here on the vents, although they're going to look pretty good, but it's these shoulders, again, this inner frame. The outer body just sort of belies the complexity on the inside here. You're going to be able to pop these out a little bit, and they're not going to move up or down. You're going to have to rely on the shoulders themselves for that. A solid looking attachment mount, and it does have the round looking cockpit actually built into the inner frame, and this is where the light is going to fit. But to the arms first, we're going to have some cool looking shoulders here, and these are going to pivot up and down, and over on this side, they're going to have this gray part here, which is going to move up and down independently, which allows the very familiar Xeon-esque kind of shoulder thing to sit on there with all of its spiked glory. You can see that it's going to rotate around there, and you get a bend of 90 and a little bit more, so you're going to get almost a 180 there. This part doesn't look like it should be splitting. And on the back, these are also going to be not individual beads, but just solid green parts with a little bit of lining really helping them come to life. But you can see some cool looking parts down there. I wouldn't say that there's any holes or gaps there. And you are going to be able to move the wrist around here, which you can put some lining on, but otherwise it's just going to look good and give it that extra bit of mobility and realism there. The elbow looks great from the front, I'd say, and yes, you're going to have these great looking hands. Very cartoony here with the oversized hands and the plump palms there. You can put a little bit of lining here, but remember that you can swap these out for your weapon holding ones there or your trigger finger ones there, and even better is that everything's a-okay when you go back to Zeta Gundam because they just did things right in terms of master grade. So wing, you understand with the smaller kits. Age, especially with Titus, I just don't quite get it except to keep the cost down. Anyway, yes, you can lose these parts, and I suppose if you can lose a green part, you can certainly lose a finger or a digit up here. But it's just amazing because you're going to have the thumbs, which are going to rotate around pretty well, but if you try to do too much, you can see that they will pop off. But in terms of articulation, you're going to be able to move not just a 3-finger trigger finger split, but each finger individually there. They're all going to bend at one knuckle there, and I think that these are what master grades are all about. Here's the spiky shoulder, and you can see the connector in there and what little bit of an inner frame there is. You're going to be getting 4 spikes, so one of those is going to go to waste, unless you want to swap it off with a Zaku green one just to confuse people and set it apart colorifically. Anyway, you've got these red parts here, and you can see that this is going to attach onto the shoulder there. And in terms of the bend, you're going to be able to move these fairly well all over the place, so you're going to be able to have them both down or both up, and you've got these parts which are going to fit in quite well and actually get ready to deploy with that little bit of brown lining just to help bring them to life. A great inner frame which is all covered up here by plastic more or less, but you are going to have these 5 boosters on the bottom. The little ones aren't going to move, and these ones are just going to move ever so slightly it seems. But more green piping there, so I'm surprised that they didn't go with the attached together ones just because it's going to be out of the way 9 times out of 10. Still, attention to detail is always appreciated there. You've got a clear lens here which should be painted up in clear green except for the fact that it's on the back, so I didn't bother this time. And if you're going to go and attach on the balut system and things like that, and this attachment point here for the very cool rollovers, you can pop open those vents and then plug this in for a secure fit. The BR is deceptively simple, but still a lot of fun to put together. Just solid gray, no differentiation there in terms of the inner color or the Xeon-esque colors there, or the Federation ones, I suppose. And you've got your red piping there, which is just going to add a little bit of color. You can see that this clip, it's pretty easy to knock that off. You're not going to be getting any extras, and you're able to move that grip around forward and back about that much. And as for this attachment point, you're going to have the ability here. You've got 2 gray pieces which just allow this to slide. It's nice and stiff, so hopefully it's going to stay in place. And then you can take this part and actually rotate that up and down as well. But it's the head here of the Marasai that sets this thing apart because it is an absolute beast thanks to this huge thing sticking off the back, which is a lot of fun to put together. So first of all, when you've got the chest there, you can see that you're going to plug the light in there, and then it's just going to go up into this part. And when you put this whole thing together, there's a very cool 90-degree little clear part here that goes up and then bends while you actually put 2 of them together that are at a 45. It's still great that it's going to send the light through there the way you don't have to put it in the head or anything silly like that. However, once it's on, I don't want to take this off too much with that clear part just being the thing that's holding it on to the neck. But it's still going to look good either way. And how about this for details? All you have to do is pop off this top of the head here, which is not all that difficult. And then you can turn the mono eye. You can also see that this part is going to remove itself, and then we're going to have a much more familiar sized head. And you can turn the mono eye left and right. I did put on the green seal, which is a little bit good if you don't have the light in there, although you're not really going to notice it as much as if you'd paint it up properly and actually get that around on the side. But I think that that seal, which is a little bit transparent though, is only going to be allowing a little bit of light through, so that may account for the fact that it's not going to be. So if you've got it with all the lights off in the room, you will notice it, especially if you look at it straight on, but you may notice that it's just covered up a little bit by that seal, and you can see it sort of protruding from the side, but it's sadly a little bit disappointing if you have it on your shelf and the daylight lit up. It's okay depending on which angle you look at it from, but unless you're straight on, it's not the kind of thing that you're ever going to notice, even if you just see it like this, because your eyes are above your kit looking down on the shelf. It's not the kind of thing that you're going to notice. But then again, maybe, well, if this thing would turn, he will notice you. So start to finish, this was a lot of fun to put together, starting with the contents of the box to actually seeing it go together with that deceptively simple shell on the outside and a fantastic inner frame on the inside. Some of the things that I was wondering about is just how annoying these things would be. Yeah, they cost a little bit of time, but it wasn't all that bad overall. Not a lot of colors to go with it, but the colors that they chose are certainly great. And it's still better to have that option of the light, even if it isn't going to work out perfectly. Maybe you can get a custom and just sort of increase the brightness. These things are always off and on in terms of luck here for me. Well, anyway, everybody, stay tuned because parts mean nothing unless it's going to look good as an MS when it's all put together. So stay tuned for that. And please let me know what you think with a comment down below. And we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching, everybody. You know, it's a little bit too bad that these gotcha things work a lot better, and these rotate also, compared to a master grade with an $8 sold separate light.